We're back again on Lutherans Alive with Dory Campbell of ELCMA. One more time, the Evangelical Lutheran Coalition for Mission in Appalachia.
Wonderful.
Dory, before we came back from the break, or as we were going into the break, I guess I should say, we were talking about some of the influences that may make it difficult for people to stay connected. One of the other things that you mentioned is that even at the legislative level, I guess we could say, there are forces that may be working against folks as well, aren't there?
Yes, there are. We've got a few major corporations who find it in their best interest to squash the people, the little people, if you will, who are working to do things like save heirloom seeds and sell them the seeds to some groups. And there's a bill in Congress right now that is trying to find a place to attach so that it will stop that from happening. We're very worried about it, and we do not want to have the food into the hands of big corporations, and there are 3 that could virtually control it all.
It's remarkable to think that that's the case, but I guess living in this world of multinational corporations, it isn't that big a stretch to imagine that that kind of influence is out there.
That's right. Well, we've got to keep an eye on it, so I encourage people to pay attention to the bills that are pending and voice. Don't be the silent majority.
Yeah. Creativity, as you mentioned as well, with some of the folks that have been helping to inspire this and direct it. Is a key item for people too, because you're talking about individual circumstances in local situations, and you were mentioning that there are a variety of different kinds of containers that can be applicable in this kind of a venture, aren't there?
Yes, we've got places that have decided that the wading pools aren't quite attractive enough, and you know there are gentlemen in those congregations who have a little spare time. So they've dressed them up. They've made actually raised beds is what they've done, made them beautiful. Some people, as I mentioned, our coordinator for gardening will be able to take things. She's taken old tires, cut off the steel bands on them, turned them inside out, lined them with plastic so that there's no contamination from the tire. And you can really grow a lot of things in there. And they're attractive. That's the surprising thing to me. They don't look like old tires. So if you have any questions, check out Dr. Ebenezer's website. You can see actual pictures of the tires there, and you'd never guess that they weren't containers from the local hardware store.
I guess the other thing that I was impressed about, you mentioned before the program that folks might be surprised how much you can actually yield from one of these local gardens. Tell us about that.
Well, Dr. Ebenezer did all the hard homework, but I can tell you from his work that we can provide enough vegetables for a family of 4 in one wading pool. The trick is that you plant 3 times. You know, when it's still cold and frosty out, you can put the radishes and things like that in the ground. So that's your first cycle. Then the regular cycle is the one with the lettuce and the tomato and the normal things you think of. And then there are fall plantings as well that you can do. And we have all that information at our website so that people can take advantage of those. Depending on where you live, the growing cycle could be a little bit longer. We do have southern folks who are a little more blessed than those of us in western Pennsylvania, but family of 4.
That's exciting and hopeful at the same time, and can give people, I think, a little bit of a larger vision about what they're doing or what they might hope to gain from that. I know you also wanted to talk a bit about congregations that might want to work out a way to be involved or to do something locally. Let's spend some time thinking about that.
All right. Well, we've got some folks who want to be involved, but, you know, writing a check just isn't satisfying enough. So we've come up with a gardening bucket, not unlike the layettes or school packs that we put together for folks. The gardening bucket is a bucket that we can use at the site to water with or to carry harvest in and so on. Inside the bucket we put things like gloves, kneeler, a trowel, a little peat cups for people to start some of their products in, a spray bottle, because one of the classes we teach them how to mix up a sudsy water to spray on in case there's some little bug on there that might not be able to stay on if it's slippery. So there are fun things like that in there. And if you went to the local hardware store, it could cost maybe $20, but we know there are discount stores you can go to, and it's $7 or $8 to put a bucket together. So congregations, Sunday school classes, things like that can get involved. And so it's a nice partnership where we aren't asking you to do, you know, arms and legs handed to us, but just a little token.
Sure. Now, if folks were interested in getting involved at that level, would they go to Mr. Ebenezer's site? Is there anything that ELCMA has specifically as a reference that people could turn to?
If you come to our website and contact the gardening coordinator, she'll give you all the materials that you need in the bucket. And we are sharing. Dr. Ebenezer is a consultant with us, but he also has sites running of his own. And so as we get the buckets in, we share them around the sites, and Dr. Ebenezer would benefit as well, and we'd welcome folks to do that. We also have some congregations who are kind of taking our idea and morphing it to fit their location, and we're so excited about that. Can I tell you about that?
Sure, please do.
There are some congregations who said, that's a very neat idea you have, but it doesn't fit where we are. Pastor Keith Pittsnoggle in Danville, Pennsylvania, told me that he was a delegate last year at our assembly. He said he was going to do that gardening when he got back home. And indeed, they had a building that they took down on their property, and it would have been 9 parking spaces. And they said, we're going to put a garden in. But they dug right in the dirt, and they divided it into patches and invited their neighborhood to come that lived around in the city to garden in those patches and take the yield home. There were a few patches left over, so the congregation took those over. And you know, you'd expect that they'd give them to the food pantry or something, and they might have, I don't know. But what he talked about was that they had, after church all summer, every Sunday, a meal using the items from the garden, and invited the entire community to come and join them. And the numbers varied, but they were always pretty good, except around the 4th of July, I guess wasn't so good. But they had people that they normally wouldn't have in their church coming to visit them and to partake of the goods. And he said every once in a while someone would come and lean on the fence and say, oh, Keith, look at that beautiful tomato. And he'd give it to them to take home. So it was a way for him to touch his community in a way that we hadn't expected or anticipated. And we had to do nothing but let him know about the growing.
Yeah.
So
I guess we could put it under the title of variations on a theme, or something like that. We were talking also before the program in our community here east of Pittsburgh, just outside of Allegheny County in Westmoreland County. One of the local farmers, getting up in years, decided that he wasn't going to plant all of his property, and made available a certain number of acreage, actually, for people in the community who would like to come, cultivate the ground, do the planting, come back. You know, didn't even have to be the same people every week or every day of the week. To do the weeding, and then at the end of the year advertised when it was time for the harvest, and ended up with I don't know how many tons of again yield in the harvest that was made available, as you said, to the local food bank or to those that were in a position of need to make that happen. So I guess you know, the general theme is food for the hungry, a way to improve the life experience and the lifestyles of our people. And whatever the local climate, whatever the local circumstances, there are ways to make it happen.
Yes, would be happy to partner with you, but I think you have enough creativity to probably pull some of that off on your own.
Well, it really is a marvelous idea, and it sounds like you've pulled a lot of resource people and a lot of expertise from a lot of different directions. And my experience often has been when you do that, you end up with a success.
Oh, thanks. We think it will be.
We'll continue to keep you in our thoughts and prayers as the Bonding Garden goes forward. And I'm sure it's only one of many wonderful ideas that ELCMA will be percolating along the way. Thanks so much for taking the time to come in, Dory.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you for being with us today on Lutherans Alive. We hope you've enjoyed this opportunity to hear about creative and marvelous ministries that are making a difference in people's lives where they are. We hope that you'll be inspired to think and do in like kind. Until next time, this is Lutherans Alive. Good day, and God bless you.